Mike here, April 9th, 2025, reviewing some video done on the 7th. This is an afternoon session on the 7th. I'm trying to I'm motioning what I'm trying to hit along the entire lateral line on the left side, manipulating tissue that's flowing around the hips and through the hips and past the hips, interconnected. And of course the whole line is in connection with the floor, right up to your fingers, up the arm lines, all the way down to your feet, down the laterals. Now obviously when I started doing this floor work, and it was in late 22, early 23, right there I'm just elongating the tissue between those two spots where my hand are, and it's very sensitive. Again, you have two, that tissue's interconnected around the problem area, which is the pelvic, because it's the area that does the most as far as stability, the big one, and of course support. And if it's compromised, which it is, these are the problem areas. Problem areas are lines of interconnected tissue that, the ones that are responsible more so for the support of the body and the stabilization of the body are the ones that are most problematic. Now, when I started, as I was beginning to say before, about around January 2023, of course, you had to start slow. I had to wear a few jackets, down. I'm not wearing that vest for protection, but I'm wearing it for, it's probably a little cold. But when I first started, I had to wear a couple down jackets. And just move around. You're like a baby when you first start. So you just get yourself down there and do what you can do and roll and just experience being on your back like a baby. And I can tell you, when I first started, my spine was knotted. In other words, the long muscle that runs alongside the spinal column was knotted in places. And, I'd work it out. And when I'd find the knots, of course, would return if I was, for a while. And so when I would lay down, I would find my, knots. I would also find that my spine, because it was being compressed, it wasn't laying flat on the floor, okay, like the cervical. So, you just take your time, day after day, as much time as you can, and move around. And take 3 years later, you're doing a lot more. Now I'm doing very subtle movements, very subtle hip and pelvic, and it's making contact, of course, with the floor. It's a very sensitive, the tissue that is interconnected, running all the way through the body, from the feet all the way up, okay, or you could say from up and all the way down, but very sensitive. And you can see my pelvic movements. I'm getting a lot of sensation, I can tell you, from where it's contacting the mat. as you can see, I'm frequently challenging my fascial network and stimulating it, and you know, I get a lot of response, and it's just part of therapy. It's part of physical therapy daily. It's part of just constantly managing this condition and keeping the tension down in the body. You see, I do a lot of torquing, a lot of elongation, a lot of twisting, and manipulation of tissue, and a lot of movement. Now, I have to say, in years past, when I did, you know, some yoga or martial arts training or whatever, um, you know, and I was doing a lot of fascia training and, you know, yoga type stuff, I didn't move as much as I am now. Okay, when you're bound up, or you're constantly tending to get bound up, when you do stuff, you need to move your everything as much as possible, even if it's subtle. You get into different poses. You just do some side to side, and that really puts you in touch with your lateral lines. You do some back and forth, and that's kind of like working your back lines and your lateral line again, your glutes. Okay. I have incorporated a lot more movement and subtle movement into what I do. And I have to say, you know, rollers were part of that, a good part of it actually, because they're circular, and so you're constantly kind of in a move. And then I came across a yoga teacher. She's not really a teacher, but she's more of a demonstrator, I guess. And, you know, from Valencia, Spain. And let me tell you, that woman has got lateral lines that, I mean, unbelievable. Okay, her glutes are unbelievable. All right. So when you look at that, you go, okay, what if you have a lateral line and glute problems? Well, what is this person doing? And interestingly enough, she does a lot of movements, a lot of pelvic, a lot of side to side, a lot of whole body. That's subtle in, um, you know, different poses. And there's just unlimited variations you can do, from the frog pose, to you know, the down dog, you know, the cat cow, you know. So those are just basic, but you can do those type of poses from all kinds of different positions and variations. Now the floor is a fantastic and safe place to work. For me, anyways. I don't know. You know, not everybody has. So maybe some people have certain problems that would make it more problematic. But you know, you have 1 inch memory foam that are pretty good size. That you know, that are the equivalent probably in size of 3 yoga mats combined. um, you know, there's all types of things that you can do. But your biggest challenge is somebody who's significantly disabled or has an autoimmune problem of some sort, you know, like what's that arthritis there? Yeah, the real bad arthritis. Okay, where the joints, rheumatoid arthritis. You know, maybe they may not be able to lay here, but their biggest challenge is movement. Okay, people that are getting older and aches and pains, whatever, their biggest challenge is movement. So for me, I cannot exercise standing up for very long. The body is in a state of tension. I have a tension network problem, among others, with my fascia. But laying down, my body is not worried about supporting itself. It's not worried about stabilizing itself. Now, this is at nighttime, middle of the night. I do a lot of middle of the night things. Usually before 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., I already got an hour or two on the books for today on the mat, okay? Um, it's a great time. It's quiet. There's nobody to bother you, interrupt you, and you can really get into some serious flows. And I've thought about doing a live stream, so it's automatically up, and then you know whatever I do, and then for a couple hours, just do what I do. Now you see the leg movement. I am contracting my entire fascial line. Now it's interesting, right? Where does the leg go? It goes up into the torso, doesn't it? See that? It's like It's like elongating and contracting an entire fascial line. I constantly work my fascial lines. And thanks to that yoga instructor in Spain there, I can literally flex both sides at once, and I do. And I typically do it from, a cat-cow, all fours, beginning position. And I'll just flex everything all the way down. It's one big flex. I can feel my sides flexing um, all the way down. But not up and down, but around. It's more of a, it's hard to describe. I work on alignments all the time on the floor. Just, your body will love it. Now, before I was able to begin any treatment whatsoever, I didn't know what was wrong with me whatsoever. My body, when I laid on the floor like that, it loved it. That's all I know. It just liked the solidness of the floor and not having any stress of having to worry about supporting itself or tension. Now, I'm really working on twisting, torquing, and massaging, and this is a really good workout. Um, and it's a massage tool. Yeah, it is somewhat dark, and I apologize. It's kind of like some of my other videos, I got to break down and really get a screen capture instead of just taking pictures of the screen and talking about it. Yeah, in the old days, I would have bought one already, but you typically can't go to the store and there's disc outfits you can actually purchase and have the CD. It's like they all want to download you to download it. Yeah, I couldn't do this before. 2.5, 3 years ago, I could not do what I'm doing. It was very difficult to do a hamstring curl. It was difficult. I'd be lucky I could do 3 or 4. Okay, so there's big improvement. What I tell people is I'm better but worse. In other words, my disease is worse, but I have better functionality because of everything I do. I'm not totally being beaten by this disease every day into misery. Okay, you can fight back and you can have decent functionality within your limitations. I'm working the other side now. Now, I was thinking of putting the movie on, doing a live stream, and then just doing a flow for an hour and a half on the mat. I've watched movies doing flows. Um, I even read articles. First thing in the morning, you might have 15, 20 minutes of articles that you might be reading, and you'll do that laying on your stomach, and of course, you're up, so your back lines are getting stronger because you're always lifting your head up, always looking up. Um, Again, you're like a baby, and this is what I tell people: get on the mat, move around. If that's all you can do is just roll around a little, lay on your back, put your legs up in the air like a little baby, and touch your toes a little, stretch out like Superman a little, arms and legs over the head. That's how you start. You need to get into a lifestyle of movement. Otherwise, if you have a condition that's restricting your movement, and let's face it, if you have an ache, a pain, a movement causes pain, people avoid it. And then what ends up happening is um, it's harder and harder to do that movement, and it causes you more and more pain. Now, it depends on someone's condition, okay? Sometimes moving something that hurt is not a good idea, all right? When you have a fascial situation, like I do, um, you just have to be careful you don't move too quick, and you got to be kind of loose and warmed up. And sometimes I tell you, I want to do yoga. Like I'll put on the lady from Valencia there, and I'll be like, well, let me warm up, and I'll just let her do her routine, and then she's done, and I'm like, gonna put it back to square one, and I'm like, well, I'm still warming up, it'll be like an hour of doing stuff on the floor, whatever. It all depends on how elevated my condition is. Now it looks like it hurts. I'm making all kinds of faces. Oh, no, the sensation is incredible. Uh, and there's a lot of different things I do when I get sensation. It rushes right to my. You'll see me hold my forehead. Okay, so um, what part of the brain is over there? God, I can't remember right at the moment. But yeah, this condition actually will bombard your frontal lobe. Okay, with an intense sensation signals, intense at times. And then, if your condition's out of control and your whole body is reactive and you're not doing things to mitigate it, your brain's getting bombarded by signals, and I really do think that your motor uh, gets gets whacked from all those signals and starts getting all confused, as does your proprioception, and also too, your spatial system, where you kind of have an idea where your body is. Okay, so you know that's why it's so important. Plus, this condition also regulates blood pressure, partly to a degree, with other things. Okay, so if somebody's having a blood pressure issue, it could be the connective tissue. All right, the only way to know is to have your heart monitored 24/7 with something like a Whoop Band 4.0, something that can give you feedback. Okay, 24/7. Now, they automatically want to take you in and to start putting you on blood pressure, and they haven't even really done their full eval. It's crazy. Now I like doing half frogs. Now I do really exaggerated half frogs. Now, a real hardcore yoga, a woman that's been doing this stuff for a long, I mean, they can do a double exaggerated frog pretty wide like that. And they're making no faces. They make it look like they're just whistling Dixie in the park and having a good time and relax and they're smiling. But no, Mike is like, look at those faces. Poor bastard. Yeah, I get to go through this every freaking day. I'll tell you, when I have wrinkles and lines, it's going to be from all the squinting from sensation. Poor bastard, look at him. No, I have a good time watching myself sometimes. I don't know what it is. Makes me feel better, go, oh, the poor bastard. Yep. We're going to wrap it up with a 24 foam roller. I'm going to lay it right on it. And I put it like right in the groin, right between your pubic bone and everything over that runs right over your hip. Now this area that I'm like laying on down there is where I complained in December of 2015. That led to some type of led to an X-ray, obviously, actually MRI, I think it was. And you know what? They knew darn well I had a soft tissue injury, okay, because I had a bad reaction to medication. But they're looking at the pelvis, you see, and you're not going to see the soft tissue. But here it is years later. I mean, I'm working that exact spot. It's a big problem area, okay? That's where all your connective tissue that's attached to your quads and comes right into that spot in there, and you have all your heavy-duty tendons that come right up inside your leg and to the backside. I mean, everything, all this stuff is heavy-duty, and it's like pretty close to all your private parts, okay? So, and this right here, it's a good workout. You get a lot of pressure. You're supported, but you can still, you're still getting exercise, of course. So that's the whole key with floor and rollers. You're supported, okay? Now I'd love to do bar work and stand up, do routines I used to do in front of the mirror and all that stuff when I was years ago. It ain't happening with this disease. I'm telling you, no way. But this stuff.